Welcome back to the official Cubase YouTube channel. My name is Stephen Bedall, and this is part 2 of the Synthwave series, where we are writing, mixing, and mastering a track from scratch. So what we're going to do in this video is expand on the ideas that we put down in part 1 of this series. We're going to focus on building an intro, breakdown, and outro section, and we'll start thinking about ways to effectively move between those sections and the choruses. I'll show you how to use the arrangement track to stay organized, and we'll take a closer look at automation and modulation, and we'll add some textures to the track, which I think you'll find really interesting. So thanks for being here. Let's get right into it. Okay, so we got a few ideas started in our last video, but one thing I'm just noticing now is that it feels a little sluggish at 125. So I'm going to push the tempo to 130. And one thing I'll have to do real quick here is just adjust the audio. So we're going to do some time stretching. I tend to toggle a lot between normal sizing and sizing applies time stretch. And I actually set up a key command for those. So if I hit Shift 2, then I can really quickly adjust these regions. So I'll just do that real quick. Okay, copying those back out, and let's just see how it sounds. Yeah, that feels a lot better to me. So let's make use of this arrangement track up here. Here's how it comes in handy. So we only have a few rough ideas here for this track so far, but that's all I need to create the blueprint for the arrangement. I personally prefer to map out the arrangement early in the process, just using a few initial ideas. For whatever reason, just seeing the arrangement really helps me to approach the rest of the process methodically, and it helps me to create a mental checklist. Once I map out where the intro and the breakdown and the choruses are going to land, I'm able to focus on writing specifically for those parts. And from there, I can get more granular about all the details once I get all the fundamental stuff out of the way. Essentially, I write into the arrangement, and if you haven't tried working this way, I might suggest it, especially if you struggle with finishing tracks. I'm going to take everything we got, and I'm going to copy it out for a full 8 bars, and let's just select everything, hit P, and in our marker track we can add a position marker or a cycle marker. I'm going to add a cycle marker, and I'm going to come to the description, and I'm going to call this intro. So 8 bars is a good length for this intro. Selecting everything again, and I'm going to do 16 bars for our chorus. So let's just select that range. We're going to add a cycle marker here too, and I'm going to call it chorus 1. Maybe we'll try doing a 12 bar breakdown. So I'm just going to select 12 bars here. Let's copy that out, hit P again, and add another cycle marker. This one's called breakdown. I'm going to select this chorus and option drag it to bar 37, and this is going to be chorus number 2, and I'll just extend another 8 bars out here for an outro. So one more cycle marker, and this will be called outro, of course. And if we want, we can also color these cycle markers. I might go ahead and do that, just makes it easier to look at. Okay, so I'll color the intro, breakdown, and outro the same. We'll make our choruses orange. Okay, so coming back to the intro, I'm going to start carving away a few elements. So we're going to get rid of the hi-hats. We'll have the snares come in halfway, get rid of the kicks. I'm going to get rid of this bass. We'll have the followers ARP come in halfway perhaps, and we'll also get rid of these pads, the power mullet. Coming over to the breakdown, do something similar. Get rid of all the drums and the bass for the first 4 bars. Get rid of these too. So maybe we'll just start with this dark material ARP. Get rid of these hats. We'll lose the kick and the bass. And maybe for this outro, we'll just leave in the kick, lose the bass here as well, and lose the pads. Okay, so now for the fun part. We're going to take a closer look at this intro, and we're going to dial in some more vibe. So maybe I'll start with the bass. Now, if you remember in the last video, we came across this great bass sustain patch. This is a patch called Soft Bass Boy, part of the Neon Drifts expansion. And I think that the sustained feel of the bass is going to suit the intro really nicely, leading up to the chorus when we switch gears and move towards like a more pulsing bass vibe. So let's punch this in. Okay, that sounds great. I also want to add a bit of pad energy to this intro. And I've got this really soft, warm patch here from Halion called Analog Pad, which sounds like this. So I'm going to put that down for this intro as well. Here we go. So the next thing I want to do here is start messing around with automation just a little. Automation is going to have a really profound effect on our track, especially in the intro and breakdown sections as we build energy and create tension leading into our choruses. At this stage, we don't need to aim for perfection. Let's just try drawing in some simple automation data to see if we can get this intro to sound more like a proper intro. So coming back to this followers ARP patch, we've got it kicking in at bar 5. And if you remember, I have my mod wheel assigned to the cutoff and the distortion. So if we open up this MIDI and I select CC1 modulation, let's just select our line tool and draw a ramp from bar 5 to 9, like that. Once we get to 9, I'm going to add another node and we can drop it down a bit. Okay, and maybe I'll just pull up the automation for this dark material patch, and maybe we could just do a bit of volume automation on this. I'll do the same thing for this analog pad. We'll just start things off real mellow. Also noticing the snares are a bit loud in this intro as well. I'm going to take them down just with the gain. Maybe I'll add a slight volume ramp for this bass as well. And let's see how we're sounding. Okay, beautiful. And just like that, you see how a couple of simple moves can add so much character to this intro. It's very cool. So I do want to copy some of this over to the breakdown. For example, I'm just going to grab this sustained bass, plug it in right here. And you'll notice that when I do that, it conveniently copies the automation data over as well. So just kind of copying a lot of the stuff that's going on in the intro, carrying it over to this breakdown section. We'll add some other textures to it as well as we develop the track, but the core basic ideas are going to remain the same. Now, the last thing I'm going to do here for this video is add a bit of texture and ear candy to this intro and breakdown. This is where things start to get really interesting, and there are so many different directions that we can take here. Maybe we'll start off by looking for some interesting samples. Come to think of it, one thing I might do real quick is just set up a folder for texture. Let's go ahead and color that, and I'll just place this above transitions. So here's an idea. We'll use an ARP patch from Retrolog to add some texture, and I've got a patch in mind for this. This is from the Void expansion, and the patch is called Anticipated. So it sounds pretty cool. Check this out. But let's come to the ARP page here and change our tempo scale from 16th to 32nd notes. Okay, I'm just going to record this in real quick. Bringing the distortion down on that. Let's just go ahead and bounce it to audio. Let's put it in our textures folder, and let's see. I'll just draw in a fade here and a fade out. Okay, maybe a faster fade in. Okay, that sounds cool. And we could add some revelation to it. Let's do a low cut, boost up the time. Could add some ping pong delay. And maybe I'll just carve out a bit of those lows. And it doesn't have to be crazy high in the mix. Just be something that kind of lives in the background. So starting off with like a bit of a trippy vibe, I like it. And there's so much cool stuff that we can use from some of these loop and sample packs. Let's check out what we have in Kaleidoscope. So something like this could work. It's in the wrong key, but that's not going to stop us. It could be a really cool stab texture that we could add to kick off this intro. So I'm going to come up to the top here where it says transpose, and let's push this up 5 steps. Okay, that's cool, but it needs a bit of reverb. Okay, we actually have a tempo on this sample too. It's 128, so let's just do a bit of time stretching to make this fit. There we go. And yeah, again, just bringing it down in the mix. And I think we need some kind of like melodic texture in here too. So just searching all of these sample packs for some vocal texture. And this one came up. It's a pretty crazy long sample. I wonder if I could just take a bit off the end of this. Curious if that would work as a melodic texture. So just dragged it in. Let's just cut it off right here. And maybe I'll just drag this back, draw a fade in. So dipping out the low energy from this sample, adding a bit of verb to it as well. And I've got this melody in my head. Let's see if I could just copy this over here, and I'll transpose this one up. Not totally sure if this is gonna work. Okay, transposing this one up too. And let's see if this sounds cool. Okay, not quite. I think I'm actually going to duplicate this track. Let's drag that down here, copying that out again. Okay, so here's where I'm at with this little vocal melody. rolled off a little bit of the highs too, brought it way down to the mix. So it kind of feels like a synth, sounds like a vocal. It's somewhere in between. I love it. I'm so used to chopping up audio and samples, so this is kind of my go-to method, but we could always just right-click on this sample and just choose to create a sampler track. And then I could just take the start time right to the end here where we chopped it off. Just draw a little fade in here, turn the audio warp on, and then we could just play it like a synth. So different ways to approach it. Cool, so I'm gonna copy these textures out throughout the rest of this intro, and let's also add them to this breakdown. And maybe I'll leave some of these textures out of the outro. We'll come up with something different for the outro perhaps. And just giving this intro one last listen, see how it feels going into our chorus. So nice to get into a bit of texturization there. Where the real magic happens though is with the transitions. So for example, throwing some kind of like white noise riser into this intro. Let's time stretch that. So you can already hear how effective that's going to be for building tension and energy leading up into this chorus section. Super excited to get into that. All right, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. There's still a lot of work to do, but I feel like our track is really starting to take shape. So in the next video, we're going to get into all the nitty-gritty details, starting with the drums. We'll add some subtle but powerful details to help them stand out. We'll take a deep dive into transitions, and I'll show you how to maximize the dynamic energy between sections. And we'll also throw down a few lead ideas and put the finishing touches on our track. Super excited for that. So again, make sure to subscribe to this channel, hit that like button for me, and share your thoughts in the comments below. My name is Stephen Bedall. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you in the next video.